Let's talk about the harmonizing ENFP subtype. So this ENFP is the fourth one, and it's got a really interesting attunement of their cognitive functions. So we talk about that driver dominant of extroverted intuition, exploration, how the ENFP learns information, takes and perceives the world, and making decisions with the co-pilot or auxiliary function of introverted feeling or authenticity, making decisions that resonate in the core values. Where are these two functions attuned from, like a type geek or a deeper understanding?
So this is the opposite subtype from the dominant. And of course, the dominant both had that more focused, assertive, analytic bent. So the harmonizing ENFP is the opposite. Both of those functions are more open, receptive, a little bit more diffused, taking in the peripheral, not as high energy, but a little bit more relaxed. And so what makes a harmonizing ENFP is both the preferred functions are holistic functions. And so these ENFPs have a lot of subtle tones, right? They're not as assertive. They're not as aggressive. They're not as in your face. They're a little bit more sort of chill vibe ENFPs. And they tend to be older and wiser, even if not in age, in affectation, right? The whole feel about them is just going to have some kind of almost I've seen everything, right? Sort of that vibe. But Daria mentions they offer a dedicated heart, a sophisticated thinking, and a real warmth and caring about them, right? There's like a warmth. They're more flowing, relaxed, and in Linda Barron's vernacular, a behind-the-scenes style of ENFP. They are very complicated in their brain wiring, though. And that's why I say they have almost a I've seen everything feel. You can tell that their brain wiring follows a lot of disparate, complex experiences throughout life. And there's not really one style of brain wiring that suits them, unlike the other three subtypes that are very clear in their brain wiring. The dominant has a very strong prefrontal cortex executive wiring. The creative is very much that starburst pattern. The normalizing has this almost like, sort of organized little streets or rows, interestingly enough, but this is all over the place. They can have diamond-shaped patterns. They can have strong starbursts. They can have a combination of these. They can have a mild starburst and strong diamonds. Like, it's just it's really unique to their life experiences, right?
Yeah.
And so because of that, they have a very quirky way of thinking, even more so than other ENFPs. Very iconoclastic, very specific to them, really peculiar to them, a particular way and style of thinking. And so they tend to, and I think this really shows up in career, their style of thinking gets really sort of fused with whatever it is that they're doing to contribute. So, for example, if they're a therapist, they integrate their natural ENFP talents with all of their career knowledge to work that in a very deep way. So they're bringing in lots of different frames of reference, lots of different styles of thinking, lots of different models to apply to the thing that they're doing for impact. And that's really what lights a harmonizing ENFP up, is that they have something to apply themselves to, something to take all of this learned information and focus it in. A single point that brings all the talents that they've accumulated over many decades to be able to apply everything together in one point.
Yeah.
And that's more of a one-to-one, of course. Harmonizing subtypes are almost always better in a one-to-one environment or setting where they're building a relationship and having an impact on that level. So, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so the neurotransmitter associated with this is estrogen on the chemical side. As you mentioned that, one-to-one situation, that's also, I think, a strategy for success in where, the creative subtype for ENFP might be hunting for a platform like a YouTube channel to create and utilize as a support for their creativity. I think for the harmonizing ENFP, finding a champion, we talk about ENFPs, there's kind of this nickname of champion for ENFPs, but I think an ENFP that's at the harmonizing subtype level, they need a champion. They need a person that can help understand their value and get them connected to the best way they can serve others. And usually it's hard for somebody that's a harmonizing to kind of put themselves forward because they're in such a receptive energy, and to do their best work, they need to be in that receptive energy. So people need to come to them. So that means they need an advocate, a champion, another person that can quote unquote market them or bring them forward or put them on or showcase them, because it's very nuanced what they do. And it's, like you said, it's a very offbeat kind of brain wiring and all of this. So I think the strategy, if you identify with this harmonizing style, I would be looking for people that you can have in your network, a few key people that can help get you the career opportunities, the coaching situations you want to be in, all of the things that light you up. You might need another person to see that in you and then bring that forward to the world.
I would totally agree with that for almost every single harmonizing subtype, except if the ENFP, harmonizing ENFP, came up through marketing. So that they're very, like, every single ENFP is a little different when they go through harmonizing in this way, weirdly enough, because ENFPs otherwise are very homogenous in their brain wiring, usually.
Yeah.
Except for the harmonizing. So if they came up through marketing, they might have that dialed in. So if, in case there's a harmonizing ENFP out there who's like well into their 60s, they're like, no, I think I know what I'm doing with that. But that would be very particular to them, right?
Yes.
Most of the time, a harmonizing subtype needs somebody else to market them.
That's right.
So just to make a note, a lot of harmonizing subtypes, we've talked about this with other types, is that they aren't as anchored, right? They're almost like specialists that require a very specialized context to be able to do what they do beautifully.
Yeah.
This is a type, this is the harmonizing subtype that is a little bit more specialized in identity. They're very grounded and anchored in their identity and beliefs. I would say probably more so than other harmonizing subtypes. Yeah. So that's the thing that they specialized in, was themselves, effectively.
Oh, and that makes that whole marketing idea even more important. Sometimes it's hard to market the value of who you are, but if another person can help put you forward, or can help support you in that can really be powerful, because, you know, especially this subtype, it's going to be hard for them to toot their own horn, like, unless they came to the marketing frame, like you said.
Exactly. If they went through that, which a lot of ENFPs do, then they're okay. But everybody else, yes, they're definitely going to need it, especially since what sets them apart is that high quality of work.
Yeah.
Right. They've gotten, it's almost like this is an earned subtype, if that makes sense. And usually they have a pretty sophisticated understanding of whatever it is that they have become a specialist in. They are good with complex information. They can be incredible transformers, right? It's people who really help others transform or situation or context. Yeah. They tend to be peaceful. They tend to have a lot of integrity. I mean, not every harmonizing ENFP is going to have earned the badge, so to speak. There might be reasons why somebody became a harmonizing ENFP much younger out of necessity. But the majority of ENFPs are going to grow into this space. It's not going to be something that they just do right out of the blister packaging, so to speak. And so because of that, there's a little bit more integrity that comes along with the age and the seasoning. They ponder a lot. They ask deep philosophical questions. They enjoy discovery through discussion, and they act as advocates for enduring changes. They are quieter. They have smaller groups of friends. They are usually not bombastic. This ENFP might think they're an INFP, right? They might think that they're, or possibly an INFJ. They might very much identify as an introvert, even though they are definitely extroverted.
Empathic, also. I think this is a subtype that would have that deep, empathetic framework. Let's talk about some of the careers this type might choose.
So these are the careers that tap into that dedicated aspect, that more sophisticated way of thinking, the more relaxed and flowing style. Of course, again, it is not a comprehensive list, but what's on here is clinical psychologist, college professor, diplomat, research scientist, environmental consultant, film director, investigative journalist, nonprofit executive director, social worker, art curator, human rights advocate, public policy analyst, marriage and family therapist, cultural anthropologist, and medical ethicist.
They didn't have cult leader on there.
They didn't.
I'm imagining when I'm like 80 years old and a cult leader, I'm like, this is the subtype I think I'll be at that time.
You'll finally have you'll have earned your cult leader ENFP status.
My Osho phase
yeah.
at the end of my life. Okay, so those are some of the careers, what are some of, so that we talked about some of the mistypes, the careers for this. Anything else we need to mention about this subtype?
The neurotransmitter is for the harmonizing subtype, the preferred neurotransmitter is estrogen.
Estrogen, that's right.